Hello, hello, hello. How's it going? Oh, I hear an extra me. How about I don't hear myself twice? Only once. Once is just enough. I can hear myself clearly enough right now. So, hello, all. This is Grandmaster Denes Boros. This is the Chess Weeb channel. So, you might see the title Chess Lab. You might not necessarily know what it exactly means. Well, let me explain it to you. Chess Lab is an idea that I had in general, and probably Ilya shared the thought. I thought we could answer just some opening questions, and this time it will be in an open house format. Now, not every one of you know what an open house format is. It means you do not need to be a subscriber or a follower to ask questions. I will answer them anyways. This will be a test run, so bear with me, bear with the idea that I just recently came up with Ilya. So we'll be open, apart from the usual drill. I'm still open to playing games and challenges like that. But mostly, if you have any questions about openings, like say, why isn't the dragon great? And stuff like that. Hmm, I'm not saying I will refute every single variation that there is, but I can give you a rundown of what is supposed to happen. Oh, QSQ already has a big question up there. Hello, QSQ. QSQ asks, Sir, yes, I have a question for you. Can you talk a little about the closed Sicilian? Mr. QSQ, it'll be my pleasure to do so. Let me open up a study. Yes, study, my study, and new study. Let's call this Chess Lab. Now we'll put it in there after that. Okay, start. Um, Chess Lab. Lab. Okay, lab is fine. And add chess. Okay, create the chapter. Chess Lab. So E4, which color you would be interested? Indeed, so black does equalize kind of easily. C5, knight C3. This is kind of the beginning move that you're interested in white. Well, I can give you a rundown of what is maybe the most dangerous for black QSQ. I'm not sure I can provide you an advantage. I can provide you probably what is the best possible line. So we actually looked at a Smyslov Larsen game some time ago. I'm going to give you a link for that. I think it should be in the studies. The hand, yes, here it is. Here's the study. Already you will, okay, let's get back to that new one. Where did my study go? Okay. Um Anyways, this will be fine. I'm just providing you the link or providing the link for the chat. In any case, back to topic e4, c5, knight c3. Okay, let's rename this. All right, save chapter. What? chapter, add a new chapter, chess lab. Great chapter. So this is the closed Sicilian. You have to deal with a lot of things, QSQ. You have to deal with knight c6, a6, e6. So first off, e6, I would advise you to kind of change tack here and go f4, d5, knight f3, and a potential bishop b5 check. The thing is that you will have quick development, unlike black, who will have to deal with the d5 weaknesses in the future. Hebs, hello there. We're just looking at how to probably play the closed Sicilian if you so wish like it. So bishop b5, castle, and you're trying to put pressure on these central pawns as quickly as possible. e6. Here, I advise you to change plans and start playing Rossolimo style. What that means is you go f4, d5, bishop b5, and if you get the chance, let's say bishop d6, you might even, okay, bishop d6 drops a pawn, so not that one. But let's say knight f6, promote this, delete bishop d6. You might consider taking and go d3, playing against black's weak structure. Is this structure familiar to you, QSQ? So QSQ was saying, yeah, people usually say that black can equalize, which is partly true. How about e5 after d5? Is it decent or not? It is not decent at all. So here, f4, d5. If you go e5, black will have domination in the center. If you play e5, black will push d4, and you will be behind space. And black will get this extra square on d5, which will lead to some problems. Hello there, just for the charm. How are you doing? PSQ, I think e5 is a little dodgy here. Beziquest, yes, the Nimzo Indian. So, hello newcomers. We're looking at ideas for the King's, but it's not the King's Indian attack. It's kind of like that, but it's the closed Sicilian. But I wanted to try out the chess lab, which will be an open house today, but later on it'll be only followers and or subs who will get this perk. So d4, the problem is that black will get the chance to plunk a knight on d5 or f5, and you're suffocating because of no space. Yeah, knight e7, f5, h5, this is not good for you. So you must keep the tension. And this is one of those things. So just for the charm, now it's an open house, but what subs get is opening theory advice. So QSQ asked me about how to potentially play for an advantage or play for something with white in the closed Sicilian. And I'm trying to give him a spiel of what he could do or what QSQ could do. And that will be a perk for subs. So e5 in general is not an idea here. You might want to play knight f3 and keep the tension. This is very important. Keeping the tension is very important when you try to get an advantage. The quicker you close the position, it'll get really uncomfortable quickly. Habs says, I think you should always be very skeptical of a pawn push into the 5th rank this early. What if black plays d4? So the big difference is this one. So if black plays d4, I move my knight away. And because the pawn is still on e4, these squares are not available for this knight. And you can continue playing with d3, g3, and bishop g2. Doesn't have a stronghold on d5 and f5. And that's the big point here, that you're not giving away anything so quickly. Hello there, past life karma. So, in general, against e6, I would say f4 is the best, keep the tension, and if they take, then you get a good knight and a good control of the e4 and probably the e5 square. Knight c6, bishop b5, and you can even go for this one, because eventually you will be able to use the fact that black has doubled pawns. If black would slowly play, then you can just castle. And then if knight f6, so the big difference is you can keep the tension if you want to, but if you win a tempo, then you can consider e5, qsq. I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but I'm asking if it does. So e5 is not so great when you don't gain some time with it, but here it would gain strength because it would attack it in one go. So now e5 is good because we win some time with it. It hits the knight. And then we can go d4. Also note that black doesn't have even time to go d4 here, and if black moves, we will play d4. And that this should be fairly advantageous. Yep, Eric's also pretty good. So e6. Against a6, you could do the exact same thing, go knight f3. You don't have bishop b5 ideas, but I would advise you to go f4, knight f3, d3, and then g3. But definitely gain some space. f4 is a very important part of the concept here. It does look a lot like a French ESQ. So this one, by the way, here's the link to this study. For a6, again, you can go f4, knight f3, d3, and you get your closed Sicilian type of positions. But back to the other line, knight c6, g3, g6. This is the typical closed Sicilian. d3, e6, because black wants to get the knight to e7. And I'd highly advise you to go f4, d6, stopping e5 ideas, knight f3, knight e7, castles, castles, and the bishop e3. Now the big point is that eventually you want to break with e5. So let's say rook b8, you would go e5. The point is black can't really take that because that c5 pawn will be very weak. So you can take. And if b6, you can go bishop f4. You can even consider sacrificing the pawn with knight e4 and get some big and quick play against the black king. Well, QSQ, yes. This is a different way of playing. But I would still think that instead of bishop e3, consider playing f4, probably the best way of playing the closed Sicilian. Let me even promote this line because this is the main line. But if you go early, in fact, if you do take away that idea, that's true. But I think still this is one of the best concepts you could go for. Quest, you like the a6 b5 stuff. So I never said I claim that there's an advantage for white in general in the closed Sicilian, but the best way, the maximum you could get, is if you play these f4 kind of structures in this King's Indian / closed Sicilian positions. Just for the charm says, I got crushed once here because I put my knight on d7 and f6. Yes, and e5 destroyed me at some point. QSQ asks, what do you suggest if black goes h5 to prevent h4? Do you play h4 yourself or h3 and then go g4? Okay, let's take a look at that one. This is the typical way, and this is the usual way you want to break. Also, you can consider bishop f2s and b5 and then e5. Again, pinpointing. But again, let's go back to your question. What if black goes h5, let's say here? So sometimes as your knight is still on g1, you could consider going on knight to f3. That's possible. I wouldn't play h4. The best possible way of playing is with h3. And if h4, you always push on through with g4. Ignoring and in the future, the h4 pawn is probably going to get weak. I would think that h3 g4 is the best. Oi! Hey there, my sick duck. Ebbs says, I used to play this as black, and because of f4, I no longer like to fianchetto at all. See? See there? This is what I'm talking about, QSQ. So this concept with playing with f4 is not at all toothless with the idea of e5. And with h5, I think h3 is best. The problem with h4 is that the g4 square will become extremely weak. You can play it, but then you cannot really play f4. It's less accurate because after an eventual f4, the g4 square comes weak. So the only plan that you could choose if you do decide to play h4, then you have to revert back to playing bishop e3, queen d2. Hey there, Z Nation. You got Z and Joe Brun. You inspired me to do a stream right now. So right now we're doing a chess lab, meaning I open the door for questions, opening questions, and anyone can ask away. You will be in the box, bozo. Nice. So in the future, possibly this will be specifically for subscribers and followers, but this time I'm ready to answer these questions, and we'll probably have a specific day for this one. Hebs, thank you for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Appreciate that. Z Nation asks, are openings better off played with an understanding of structures or learning concrete lines? It really depends. So I'll give you an example. I will give an example with on the chessboard as well. Hey Pawn Masseur, how are you? But let me come back to this one in a sec. So QSQ, did I answer your questions, or you have extra questions on the closed Sicilian? Again, here's the link that has all these theoretical ideas. Meanwhile, let me set up chapter 2. I don't know how this is chapter 3, but okay. Okay. Chess lab. What? Why do we have this position? Okay. Delete this chapter. Delete? Yes, delete it. Add a new chapter. Good. Good. Okay, add a new chapter. No, go back. Yes. So, Z Nation, this is the specific thing that I wanted to show you. Oh my god. Orientation. Okay. So you had one more question, QSQ? One last question. So the system with d6 and e5, pawns on bishop for black, is it okay for white? Okay, let me answer that. I'll be back and give you an answer, Z Nation, in just a second. So d3, d6. The thing is, again, you can go f4. And if e5, knight f3, knight e7, castle, castle, there is this specific pawn sacrifice, gf, knight h4, and before black could really set up, you will be storming your opponent's king side quite early. And because the knight is on e7, it cannot really defend against threats here. Note that if they take, you take with de, and then you're going to storm. Storm the f5 square, and storm the weak d6 pawn. Hello, Kazella. So black is supposed to take on f4. Well, if black takes on f4, bishop f4, and queen d2, and in the future go bishop h6, and this looks fairly playable to me. I think this is a playable position for white. I'm not claiming there's an advantage here, but you can play for something in this position. And again, if they castle, f5 is very nice and promising. Pawn sack. That's something to try. All right. Did I answer your questions? Yeah, QSQ, you're very welcome. Again, here's the link. Let me give the link. Danny Crane, sorry about that. I was busy answering all the close Sicilian questions. Hello there. So, let me add a new chapter. No, empty. Orientation, yes. E4. So, Z Nation. Here is the concept. Von Hoffman made it rain. Yay. So, should you study concretely or not? Is my answer. C5, knight f3, d6. Yes, we are heading towards the dragon. Bishop g7, f3, castles, queen d2. Bishop c4. Bishop h6. So this is a typical dragon position. Now, if you're unfamiliar of what you're supposed to do here, you're bust. So you must know the concepts, otherwise you're just losing with black. There's a good example that sometimes you must know concrete lines. This is an example for that one. Obviously, bishop takes, queen takes, rook takes c3 is the typical exchange sack, and black is fine. Black is fine. But to give you a different example, if let's say it's a French, e6, d4, d5, knight d2, f6, just this usual spiel, takes, takes, f6 takes, here, knight f3, bishop d6, oh, not queen takes, but knight takes, promote, delete, knight takes, here, here, knight f3. Do you really need to know theory here? Chat, what do you think? Do you really need to know theory in this position? Does it really matter that you know it or not? Well, yeah, if black wants to, probably sometimes you do. But if black really doesn't want to, you don't have to. If you don't go knight g4, but let's say you go bishop d7, you don't have to know theory, like you don't have to know the concrete long variation. It's a long maneuvering game, if black wants it to be. So it's a long strategic battle. It's really what you choose. Yeah, you have to know how to handle sacks on f3, but not necessarily. Like, even here, if black only knows bishop e8, bishop h5, rook e8, that's kind of fine. You don't really need to know much more than that. Yes, you can play this even better, know some sacrifices, but you don't need to know it by tack, like in the dragon. So if I have to choose between this and the dragon, this would be maybe a little bit more optimal because you don't have to work that hard for this one. Did I answer your question or am I dodging it a little bit? Yes, new friend, chess. What a cruel mistress. Now, I'm not saying that the French is unpenetrable and it's amazing, but you disagree with. Okay, so I'll give you a second example then. So e5, oh, not e6. This will be probably the perfect example. d4, knight d7. So this is the Breyer variation. Can you play literally anything after this one with black and white? Yes, you can do whatever you'd like, and you'll still have an interesting game. Yeah, no, I'm just. Is this a better point, Z Nation? And I'm trying to help you because if you're asking me if I'm asking you if I can help you this way. So if you have like a specific question, I can try to answer that as well. Cazella's asking, how can I know if much of e4 or d4 player? How to find an opening that suit my style if I don't really know my strengths and weaknesses? Please, Chess Veep Sama. So, how long you've been playing chess, Cazella? Or how active you are playing chess, either online or OTB? Meanwhile, let me look if there was some other questions as well. Okay, all right. It is that black liquid, Bozo. It is the black liquid that I'm chugging. Do you remember position from 2 nights ago when you analyzed where both? So Cazella says, I played as a kid, 10 years of inactive and now active again since 1 year. So in general, this is the rundown that I would give. E4 requires a lot of knowledge. So E4 is a demanding opening. You need to know a lot, but it's tactical, so it's fun. D4, on the other hand, come on, can do it, computer. D4, on the other hand, is more solid. More solid. Marcos, thank you for following. Fidel Corrales with the raid of Party of 50. Thank you so much for the raid. Congratulations. Congrats on your tournament. Fidel finished third in the AK tournament. Good job, Fidel. Papa. And let's give him a shout out. This is Fidel Corrales' GM. Fantastic player. Chrissy Visi Terelco, thank you for following. So we're just looking at Chess Lab and stuff. Bourgeois Web, hello there. So D4, Downpour, thank you for following. So D4 is more of a solid option. If you're not comfortable with very many tactical ideas, D4 is more solid and gives you more of a strategic battle. Now, going back to E4, this is Mr. Fidel Corrales' favorite. He loves E4. So if you're looking to follow someone and his games, you might want to try out E4 and follow Fidel Corrales' footsteps. He's been an E4 player for most of his life, which is young, but still he has been on the Olympic teams of Cuba, and a very strong grandmaster. So if you want to try out this very aggressive setup, I'd advise you to do that. From those two, Cazella, I think you could choose, if you want to get better tactically, definitely play E4. E4 is more tactical, and D4 is more solid. Fate, I know, but it was due to playing you. That's why he played C4. But mostly he's an E4 player. Again, hello everyone who just rated. We're actually discussing openings, and if you have opening questions, I'm answering them. Eventually, this will be sub-specific, so if you follow or sub, you have a better chance of getting an answer, but now it's open house. So if you have any questions, do let me know. I also played Fidel. Fidel actually played only E4 against me. We had some fantastic games there. Let me catch up. Von Hoffman's asking off-topic question, Monster or Cowboy Bebop? That's actually an open question for you, Chet. What do you prefer? I would go as... I have to bite my tongue there. I think it's Monster. Monster is better. You're welcome, Cazella. What would Black Mambas, what would Karokan be classified? It's like a semi-solid. So let me take a look at that. So C6, this is like a semi-solid system. It can get very sharp. So let's say D4, D5. Now this can be like solid if we get these boring positions that happened in the Fischer-Petrosian match, which is famous for a lot of reasons. 6-0, 6-0 for the American player. But Um, okay, c6, d4. But this can get very interesting after this main line. h4, h6, h5, knight f3, knight d7. And even though this would have been like a solid position, eventually it gets sharp as castles, both sides castle the opposite way, and it'll get very interesting as white will sacrifice on the king side and black will try to hold. This can end up being double-edged. So, chapter 3, e4, choosing openings wisely. This one was closed Sicilian. Okay, so let's go back here. Here's the link, by the way. Quasi-quest sharp means tactically complicated, yes. Well, Luis Oliveira, well, he didn't, but he got butchered very badly. Yeah, Black Mamba, that's what I meant, that the position can get very sharp. What is the safest opening you can't lose easily? So eventually it depends on yourself. Whatever you'd like. Usually what they say that e4, e5 is a safe system. So e4, e5 is a relatively safe system. That what I call as the Spanish. And Spanish lines are usually fairly reliable. So that's something for you, Van Hoffman. Hubs, I've just started looking at the Sicilian Khan and General Hedgehog setups. Do you have any experience with them? Yes, I have. So c5, knight f3, e6. Let's promote this guy. d4 takes a6. The whole concept here is that black is trying to build a setup. You do have to be a little bit careful, but if you're careful enough, you will have amazing positions. Dampur, you wrecked me in a Spanish OTP a long time ago. I'm not saying it's ultimate safety there, but it's relatively safe. So let's say c4, queen c7, knight c3, wait, a3, so there's no bishop b4, knight f6, knight c3, b6. What black is trying to do is force white to play f3. Otherwise, black might run into some f4, e5 attacks. Bishop b7, this is a very important move, forcing white to concede with f3. Bishop e7, bishop e3, d6, knight d7, queen d2, castle, rook c1, rook c8. Now, there's a few plans that you could do here. Thank you, Danny Boy, for following. So one of the plan is to go queen b8, bishop d8, and bishop c7. Let's go say rook d1, queen b8, and bishop d8, bishop c7, with the idea of breaking with d5. One of these games that are very famous was played between Karpov and Anderson. Ulf Anderson, yes. Yes, okay. Making sure that his name is spelled correctly. Bishop c7, and this is one of those interesting plans to try out, Abs. And there's also one more plan that I actually want you guys to find out. So Fisher found an amazing plan. Can you spot it? So Ulf Anderson actually picked it up because of him. Zeev, would you like to mod? Actually, we have Fate. Isn't Fate a mod? Come on, my bad, my bad. My apologies right here. Why can't I find... Oh, I found you. All right. What is your name exact? Z Nation Chess. Okay. Yeah, you have to play for b5. I already showed you guys. Meanwhile, you guys should figure out it's not queen b8. This is the first plan I showed, the queen b8 and bishop c7. But there's a different concept, a more aggressive concept. And it's famous because of Fischer. All right, you are modded. Z, you are besetted with power. So knight c5, look for some aggressive ideas. Kingside attacks. I know h5 is an idea. Yes, Hobbs, that is an idea. So queen b8. h5, h4 is always an idea, just to probe and create some weaknesses on the king side. So h5 is a good idea, Hobbs. But it's not h5. So let me just make it interesting, because the other one's even more brilliant. Yes, the g5 idea. So king h8, and black is planning to go here and g5. Let's say here, rook g8, and black will go h6 and g5. Sometimes white voluntarily goes there to attack g5, rook d2, and the plan is to double and then start breaking it open and go g4, gf, and sack on e4 or break with d5. This is the big plan. It's a very, very famous play by Fischer. It is, in fact, Fischer idea. Yes. This is famously known to be Fischer's idea. Quest is correct. This was played with reverse colors, but he still came up with the concept. The famous game, Fischer. Yes, Fischer is fantastic. He has openings names after him, opening ideas, and just about everything else. Yes. So the plan is to open up the H1 A8 diagonal with the means of rook G8, G4, G takes F, and D5. A fascinating concept by Fisher. So this is how you play the convariation hubs. $9.60. Well, that's kind of argued that Banco invented it. So you can at least see how beautiful this is. Let's flip the board. Look how beautiful this concept is. You might even go knight d5 at some moment too. This is a pretty beautiful concept. Yeah, you're welcome, Hubs. So any other questions that I missed? Overshield asks, is it okay to make an acceptable chess move that isn't necessarily the best to help saving time? Yes, sometimes you don't want to lose on time. That's okay. That's totally fine, not wanting to lose on time. C4 B5 is terrible, von Hoffman. Anti-London, wow. So, for anti-London, I know a guy who made videos about this. Fascinating. This dude is like great. And he's like an anti-London dude, too. So he made this video, and he made it for the St. Louis Chess Club. And I know him personally. He's decent. He has a bit of a sense of humor, but he's okay. Here it is. He was GM in resident at that time at the St. Louis Chess Club. He will be again resident, as I heard, in December. You know, if this guy would seem to look like that guy, that could be pure accident. Z Nation, D4, E5, and catch white P moving, bishop F4. Yes, that's the guy. So here's the London link for you guys. Can you show some subtle tactics for Max Lange? Yes, I will show you a subtle tactic, von Hoffman. Alright, add a new chapter. For that, we will flip the board. Max Lange. Create a chapter. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. Kiescu, he does look familiar, doesn't he? Yeah, Ellipse, it's my identical twin. Right. Also, if you want to join the Discord and want to talk chess or anime, if you have questions, we're plenty of grandmasters. Ilya is also in charge. So if you want to see him, want to talk anime with us, join our Discord, join our Facebook to know more, and lots of other perks. Anyways, back to Max Lange, bishop c5, castle, knight f6, and d4. This is the Max Lange variation. White gambles the d pawn. Okay, let's make it humble and interesting. So this is interesting. Bishop takes d4. This is clearly the best move. If you take with the e pawn, then you can go e5, takes, and takes. Rook e1, and crazy house is happening. White has an initiative in a complicated position. Follow the game, Robson Dominguez. Have I watched Seven Deadly Sins? Well, that's probably my eighth sin. I think I saw a little bit. Wasn't amused. This is not the Scotch, bozo. Scotch would be with d4. Knight f6, d4, bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4. So you can play bishop g5 here. Von Hoffman pinning the queen. h6, bishop h4, g5, and white to move and play. And there's a fantastic Z Nation. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Von Hoffman, you must find the move. If you dare play this variation yourself, you must find this fantastic idea. This is pretty nice for all standards of play. If you find this move, you should feel really good about yourself. Bozo, resigning is always the good answer. Thank you for the follow, Samhain. Von Hoffman, I want you to try find it because it's important. If you're asking for it, and if you okay, good. I just wanted some chat reaction from you. And by the way, viewers, if you're good, you're a GM and I am an FM, or not even a master. Try find it. It's a pretty one. White to move and play. So in this puzzle, you have to go against gravity. Gravity would say to move this bishop, but sometimes gravity loses. How can we defeat the nature of chess? Let's try defeating it. Thank you for the follow, Jibaritos. Oh, Daro, thank you for the follow. Fun, and some less amusing 960 games there. But I appreciate it. Welcome. C3? Well, first off, let's try to deal with the problem with this bishop. C3 is interesting. You're trying to counterattack there. Not a bad idea. But can you undermine this e5 pawn, von Hoffman? Just play c5 on move 1, then you don't need to think anymore. Unknown friend of you says, I like f5. What is f5? Fairly illegal, according to my senses. Calm Mongoose, yeah, but bishop g3 would just follow the gravitational forces of moving away from danger. But when you're playing, yes, everybody, yay for von Hoffman, yay. Money, f4. Brilliant, brilliant, just brilliant. Because if g takes, we take fe and it's a double attack. But heck, it wouldn't be even fun if it would be a double attack. Because after takes, we take on f7 and it turns out to be a triple one. You're gonna take on d4 and it's game, set, match if we're playing McEnroe, but probably we're not playing McEnroe, nor Djokovic, even though Djokovic does play chess. Ha! Tidbit, you didn't know that, did you? I did hidden, but you did find it, so that's the cool one. So here, this is kind of a typical Max Lange idea of f4. You can't really take, because I take on d4 and e5, and again, I will take on f4, and you'll have weaknesses everywhere, and black's position is collapsing. Sounded like no joke chess, lol. Any other wishes in the chess lab? Again, here's the link where my identical twin busts the London. It's also, by the way, approved by Miss Andrea Botez. How many heads do you have, and how do I get you to analyze a game of mine, says Moonman. So, in the future, that will be possible. That will be part of subscribers. We'll have a specific day where we will have these type of open labs, so chess lab, where I answer these questions and will also analyze some games. That is still the plan, but not. We don't have the plan ready quite yet. What do you think about a black lion opening? What is the black lion? I'm not sure. Can you elaborate on that, Kazella? So this f4 is this typical idea. Do you ever play the exchange variation in the French? Is it okay for white? There's no danger there for white. But the question is if it's ambitious enough. Not really. Star King 1000, hello there. Hello. Do you like the Mexican defense or do you not like to transpose? A warrior would thank you for subscribing for 1 tier sub. Don't die on me, Lamp. Yes. Which link? I'm gonna give you this link, the Lee Chess study. Here's the Lee Chess study link. Classical strategist. Thank you for following. Do you not like how it transposes? Well, Moonman, let me look at that one. Chess Lab. Great. Great chapter. So d4, knight f6, c4. There's so many things you can do that are just much better. e6, g6 is much better. e6, g6, these are sound systems. Problem with knight c6 is a little dodgy and white will always be slightly better. I mean, that's not the end of the world, I'm not saying that. But probably you will end up transposing into an inferior version of the Nimzo. But let's say knight c3 here, queen c2, castle, bishop d2, and these positions are playable. There's nothing wrong with them. But why not just play c4, e6, and you get the best of both worlds. And white is better. Star King, thank you for following. Oh, okay, so Gazella asks, this is the Black Lion system. Again, this is not too favorable for black, yes. Castle, rookie 1, c6, a4. This is, again, definitely playable, but, that one. Because it's an offbeat opening. Okay, so I assume that you were asking this one. Knight f3, here, bishop c4, bishop e7, a4, what was it? Oh no. Which one were you asking? Black against the e4. So c6, queen c7, castle h6. Well, you're kind of neglecting development with g5. I'm not saying it's necessarily terrible, but probably, let's say here, white will go bishop a3 and challenge you if you go g5. So this system is a little dodgy for black. But playable. I've seen Rapport play it. So this is how I would kind of talk about this one. How do you decide whether to play e5 or c5 in the King's Indian? You're welcome, Kazella. How do you decide? So knight f6, c4, g6, here, d6, knight f3, castles, bishop e2. So e5 is the traditional way of playing, where you go knight d7 or knight c6. So knight c6 is the main line, d5, knight d7, and you have the King's Indian main line. Kid, main line. Okay. So whenever some moves are played that are offbeat or h3, the chance of c5 getting strength rises. So this is the main idea here. If white plays the principled main lines, black plays for e5. Otherwise, c5 gains strength. So bishop g5 is kind of awkward and leaves this b2 pawn, being a target. Now, even queen b6 becomes an option, or e6, and with this pawn being a target, and this bishop potentially up for some chasing, let's say h6, you can even consider this one and winning the bishop pair. The play with c5 gains a lot of strength. So in general, my thing is, if it's a main line, you go for e5. If it's a sideline, c5 is probably the strongest move. Here's the Lichess link. What's principled mean here? Principled means main line. So let's just promote this one. Principled bishop e2 is the main line, meaning it's the main line. h3 is also a main line. So if it's a main line, probably e5 is best. If it's a sideline, bishop g5, probably c5 is best. So that's kind of, again, if knight g2, you guessed correctly which move is probably the best here. Probably it's c5 because it's a sideline. Yeah, quasi-quest, like principled way is if you put your king into safety. like with normal development like knight f3, bishop e2, and castles. Also, that's bad. Yes, QSQ. So bishop g5, c5. Also, e5 here, you don't win a pawn. Because when you would not win the pawn, there's this counter sacrifice. And at the end, black will take on c3. And if you take, I take back. And it's equal amount of pawns, both sides. So this is just magnifico. This is just very good for both. The Urosov gambit, not really. I'm not a big fan of the Urosov. So that is something I think to know. Again, any gambits. I'm fine with gambits. Gambits are not bad. Positional stuff. What do you mean? Banker gambit. So, guys, in general, try to have a specific question. I especially like this question that was asked just recently by Moonman. Moonman's question was really nice. He asked something specific. When should I go for e5 or c5? Whether to play c5 or e5. These kind of questions I can answer, and if you have something specific, that does help me a lot to provide you maybe not an entirely comprehensive answer, but something that I could latch onto and give you a way what to do. Could you show the opening lines for the white? I just did. This is the opening line. Classical strategist, that is the kid. When you have a protected passed pawn in a bishop and rook endgame, should you take the open file? Now that's too specific. Now I'm not a sage. I can't see in the future what that is. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that because I don't have that position in my head. So I think I have a tough time answering that. Well, yeah, that's true, but black doesn't have to play knight c6. Could go e5 as I told you, and go knight d7, knight c6. So there's just million ways, millions of King's Indian positions here. So, unknown friend of you asks, with white in the queen's gambit declined, I like delay knight f3 to have the option f3, but not sure when it is necessary to protect the e3 pawn. Okay, so let's do that. Great chapter. It's d4, knight f6, c4, e6. You mean f3 here? You mean f3 here, friend of you? So f3. So in general, e3 shouldn't be any of your concerns. You should always go for e4 pushes. So if you play e3, you don't have to defend the e3 pawn. It's defended already by the f pawn. So let's say castles, bishop d3, d5, or d6, doesn't matter, but d5 is better. Knight f3, let's say c5, castle. You don't have to worry about the e pawn. It is naturally defended by the f pawn. So I guess this is the big idea, big problem, unknown friend of you. If you play f3, don't push the pawn to e3. The main concept of f3 is that you're going to play e4. So let's say c5, d5, castle, you always play e4. Must always play e4 here. Because that's the whole concept is based on this structure. You can't really mix the two. If you go e3, then that's kind of defeats the purpose of f3 here. It doesn't really do anything, it just obstructs your knight. On the other hand, if you play e4, at least you have a nice structure. Yes, some weaknesses, some checks, and some problems because sometimes these double pawns can be annoying, but you have the center intact and you have a center that provides you an advantage. White has a big center which is provided by the d5, e4, and f3 pawns. Note there is no e3 pawn in this position. So if you want to play with f3, which is a system, you have to play for e4 here. But let's say in the names of a mover that I play e3 and bishop is still on c1. Okay, so even if you do it this way, eventually you want to go f3 and e4. Your plan still must be f3, e4. You must play f3 and e4. Yeah, you're welcome. Because that's the way you gain space and that's the way you get the advantage. Or so you hope so. Von Hoffman is asking, in the Sicilian, which squares should we care for? What squares should we try to insert our pieces? It depends of what type of Sicilian you're playing. And Bozo is correct. f3 is very dangerous. Eventually this king will become really weak. But at least white built a center. And that's kind of the upside of the whole story. This is what you could do here. Hey there, Fuxia, how are you? So I think I will try to answer 3 more big questions, and that is the plan for tonight. So anyone who's just joining, we're doing the chess lab, which will eventually be more for the followers / subscribers, where I answer opening questions and provide you an idea of what you should be aiming for or doing in the openings. So Van Hoffman, I will answer that in here quickly. So you have to decide, and this is just an extra Van Hoffman and everybody else. So apart from this one, we have 3 more. Knight c3. So if you decide to play in close Sicilian ways, you try to play around and just start developing harmoniously. If you go here and you eventually get into open Sicilians, you can plant your bishop on e2, castle, bishop e3, and then f4. This is a very standard way of playing Von Hoffman. Or you can go bishop e3, f3, queen d2, long castles, which is called the English attack. So this is one of those 2 things you could do. And these are 90% of the time are correct. My Sig Duck is asking, can you go for a d4, c4, e3? Can you go for a hedgehog? Kind of. Von Hoffman, no, that's not correct. He's asking if we are going to try to take control of the e5 square. We can't. Black has made way too many pieces. So what black, so white here is going to go for queen d2, f3, and g4. Let's say here, queen d2, should be 7, f3, and you're going to storm the position. Or you could even storm with f4, but then you don't play f3. Or if you play with bishop e2, castle, you're trying to play for e5, but you won't have the control. Von Hoffman, I hope that kind of answered your question. You're fighting for the e5 square, but it's not a guarantee that you'll have the control over it. Can you go for a hedgehog formation? My Sig Duck is asking against a d4, c4, e3 system. Okay, here's the link again. d4. So you can play hedgehog type of structures if you go e6, b6, bishop b7, bishop e7, let's say here. And you can go with c5, d6, knight d7. And this is not exactly a hedgehog. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Let's reverse the colors. So you can go and play this way and go, let's say, c5. It could even transpose to the hedgehog, but this is kind of a hedgehog-like position. So maybe this is something that you'd be looking for. And eventually black plans to go d6, knight d7. And the plans are fairly self-explanatory if you understand and if you know how this is played. I mean, if you understand hedgehog position. You know, the same drill. Probably you can't do with the Fisher plan, so I wouldn't advise that one. But you can go with the d6, knight d7, rook c8 plan. So Shorbach is asking, hello, how to handle the hippo with white, but more specifically against the setup with, yeah, basically the hippo. Yes, it does. This hedgehog does give you a good coordination. All right, so let's go for the hippo. Great chapter, reverse colors, okay, whatever. Black plays this thingy. So f4, f5 is always double-edged. Because with a big center comes with big responsibilities. I messed that up, but you know what I'm saying. So there'll be some targets on e4. These pawns are all potential targets. Is white likely to be better? Yes, but you are risking something. Pawns might eventually become weakened or weak. So knight f3 is the thing that I would suggest you to play. e6, rook e1, and just go with this classical knight d2, knight f1, and knight g3 plans. And then you're basically playing against the Ruy Lopez, where you're trying to go h4, h5 on your opponent, and you're either playing on the queen side or the king side. This is very reliable. white is definitely better. Playing a Rui Lopez with a space advantage. Yeah, so h4, h5. Um, you're not going to checkmate your opponent. So let's say 97, 91, castle, here, here, knight g3. Okay, let's say a6, h4, h6. Now you don't have to, after h6, you don't have to rush play h5. Of course, g5 would happen. The plan here is to go bishop d2, queen c1, soften that h6 pawn, and then h5 once the king lands on h7. And then you'll have e5 ideas. Yeah, so this is the typical plan that what you could use. Sharbach, I'm happy I could answer your question. All right, so last question. I'm going to answer that one, and that's going to be this eighth, the Dutch Stonewall. So here, why would someone play this way instead of g6? Because this has this ugly hole, says, easy dude. Thing is, it's not that easy to put all of your knights to e5. It's only one square. So let's say knight d2, castle, knight d5, b6, here, bishop b7, knight d7. Now, one weakness is not enough for an advantage. Easy dude. And what black has in exchange for that is the e4 square, all to himself slash herself. Gets the e4 square in exchange for the e5 one. So yes, this does look ugly, but you can put both of those knights there, so they're kind of competing for the same spot, while it's kind of self-explanatory that black will get the knight on e4 and will try to actually take over the center. This is why black is playing this way, so eventually you can open up the position with c5. And with black only having the e5 as a weakness and a pawn on e6, which is readily defendable for black, this position is playable and can become really nice. Sharia, it's a good question. That is something to look into. So even though black is definitely worse here because white has more space and less weaknesses. There's no weaknesses around the king, while the black king definitely is exposed because of this e6 pawn and this f5 push. On the other hand, black might eventually get a central advantage for that weakened king. So this position can become very interesting. And with that, this was the Chess Lab stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There's plenty of interesting topics here. Again, I'm going to provide you guys the link of this lesson in the future. I think if you liked it, I might do this again. Guys, do let me know if you liked it or if you learned something from it. Meanwhile, let me find someone to raid. And I found it. I'm going to raid Miss Gold Dust Story. Oh, Oh, so you enjoyed getting some insights. Great. I'm happy you guys liked it. So, thank you so much, and have a good day or night wherever you are.